Hello, Putnam County voters. Steve Hibbler. This is another of the videos in a continuing series so you get to know me a little bit better as your candidate for sheriff in Putnam County. Today I want to talk about my law enforcement experience, so sit back and hang on because I've got over 40 years that I've served in law enforcement. You know, I started out as a civilian working for the Indiana State Police in 1980, working in the State Command Center. In 1983, December 23rd, I became a trooper assigned to the Putnamville State Police Post, where I worked Putnam and Morgan County. Did a lot of patrolling on I-70, US 40, pretty much in west central Indiana. I transferred in 1988 to the Indianapolis Post, where I worked the west side, worked the downtown area. In fact, I got in my first gunfight while working on the west side of Indianapolis. I ended up going to Johnson County and ultimately became a white-collar crime investigator. Also during that time period, starting in 1985, I got on the Indiana State Police Emergency Response Team. It was an additional duty that I shared, but I had over 10 years service there. I had over 200 actual SWAT operations. All of these gained a lot of experience for me. I ended up becoming a sergeant at the state headquarters in the State Command Center, the same place I started as a civilian in 1980. Then I became a community policing sergeant where I really found my niche. That was where I employed the whole community approach to solving problems. You see, in law enforcement, you have proactive and reactive. A lot of agencies are more reactive. You call, they show up. But proactive agencies work with the communities to solve the problems before they actually become a problem. And that's what community policing is about. I ended up being the lead instructor for community policing for the Indiana State Police. Then, I actually on September 11th, 2001, we all remember that day, I became the first sergeant or the assistant district commander of the Putnamville State Police Post, where I was second in command with oversight on 40 troopers and 15 civilian employees. That was quite a day that we'll all never forget. In all my experience with the Indiana State Police, not only did I work at the district level, work on crime issues, work on traffic issues and quality of life issues, but I also helped prepare for major events all around the state of Indiana, including the Indianapolis 500, the Indiana Grand National Drags, the Indiana State Fair, all these type of big events that brought in huge crowds. The war took me away. I ended up going to Iraq, and I retired from the Indiana State Police while I was on active duty. When I got done, I went to Red Lodge, Montana, where I worked a small ski resort community as a police chief for 2 years before returning to Indiana as the jail commander at Putnam County. I was in charge of a 155-bed jail. Of course, when I was overseas, I had 25,000 detainees, so I kind of knew what to do with the inmates when I got them. From there, we got contacted by the Cloverdale town who wanted a new police chief, and I ended up getting selected as the police chief of Cloverdale, where I've been the last 5 years. When I took over in Cloverdale, they had merely 800 calls for service a year. We now have over 4,000 calls for service a year. Before I got there, they had 9 criminal arrests. Now we're having over 200 criminal arrests a year. Most of it drug-related and activity coming off the interstate I-70 and 231. As I said in one of the earlier videos, law enforcement is not only a science, but it's also an art. The science we learn through the vast majority of the schools, and as you see, I've been through a lot of schools in my career. But it's the art part of actually doing the job and being on the job that you learn that experience, both in the administrative side of it, the operational side, and the strategic side of law enforcement. That's what I bring you, the Putnam County voters. I look forward to your vote and your support. Thank you, and I approve this message.